Easy E, how are we?
Shawnee, under pressure.
Under pressure.
I know why people fail this 75-day hard.
Why?
They try and do the 75-day hard instead of the Eric Realistic.
How is the Eric Realistic going?
The Eric Realistic, I have to say, I've relied so much. Today, it's a Friday night. I usually go to the bar, as you know, and I get my weight session, and I look forward to your finisher with the burpees, etc., etc. I hadn't got it in me today. I went for a walk today just to get moving, and it'll be yoga again tonight. The legs are heavy because did a little bit of heavy training. We'll hear a little bit as we talk about it in the podcast as well, but I can understand why people, why the Eric Soft is a realistic training program. I'm quite happy with how tired I am, how stubborn I have to be even just to go for that walk. It is a mental challenge. Reading something new every day, educating myself every day. I've learned a lot, actually. It's brilliant. I've instead of the book, I've actually got more into different articles and different systems and different other things that it's just, it's been absolutely brilliant. But we are getting there. The weight is staying the same-ish. It's come down a little bit, but looking leaner, feeling fitter. And then next week we've got to ramp up again, and this is it. And into this weekend, there's a big run coming, and starting to get that confidence back.
Brilliant, absolutely brilliant. We've talked about the podcast, and the thing is, like, you surround yourself with people you kind of like have those their habits, or the 5 people you surround yourself with is the common who you are. Last week, Anthony in the podcast, who did a lot of Ironman and different things like that. This week it is no different. We've got someone who's done a hell of a lot of Ironmans, and I never thought I'd say that sentence. Someone who's done a hell of a lot of Ironmans, but in my mind, 12. That's a lot. And the mad thing about it is we just finished up doing the interview with him. At the end of it, he's like, here, make sure you tell your listeners that I'm a quote unquote bang average athlete. And it really got me thinking, he is so immersed with the people that he surrounds himself with, that he thinks where he's at is average. And when I'm listening to him throughout this podcast, I'm like, I don't know anyone personally who's done the stuff you've done, or who would get up at 6 o'clock in the morning and jump into a river in the middle of Athlone after doing a mad 45-kilometer cycle before going into work afterwards, have the time to do that, and not the time, but the strength and the willpower to do that. But he's so immersed in his group, I suppose, and he talks with that a lot in the podcast, like having the group he has up in the dock and everything else, that he's he considers himself the quote unquote bang average athlete. He talked about at the end of the podcast. Yeah,
he might call himself bang average, but he's my local David Goggins. That's what
and that's the way it got perceived on the stories this week. Because if you looked at Eric, the Any Given Run Day Instagram this week, you're like, Jesus, Eric ramped it up. Eric was dragged up on this.
Absolutely dragged up, and that's the beauty of it. The modesty comes across, and you can tell he's done 12 Ironman, but he's so modest about it. But the positivity that he has, the mental strength that he has, and like even when he's talking, there's some great stories. There's some great nuggets even about the ice baths and how he got into it. And you're just gonna listen like we did, and there's actually silences because you're kind of looking at him going, that's mental.
Yeah, it's like I there was a couple of times. Where's the follow up in this one? Where am I going with this? Because it is insane. It's a great listen. And with that said, we're both going to shut up on that for the next hour or so and listen to Lorcan Fisher on this week's episode of the Any Given Run Day podcast. Let's go. So I saw on the Instagram this week, I need to meet the guy who dragged you into freezing ass cold water in the middle of, I don't even know where he's where, what river, lake, pond, canal, what was going on. All I saw was you jumped into a water. It is very cold out there, Eric. Who dragged you in? Because I know you talk about willpower and strength. There's no way you could have done it yourself. So what is the story?
Well, there's 2 things, Sean. There's 2 words you cannot use to describe me getting into the water that morning. And that was willpower and strength. And I have Lorcan Fisher with me as verification. So the video, if anyone's seen the Instagram, Lorcan literally step in like a swan. I got the soles of my feet, my toes weren't even submerged, and I was nearly crying. I was like, I'm not doing it. I can't do it. I was like, just come on. Will you just get into it? I was like, I can't do it. So anyway, and it was only after a 10K, I had an Under Armour, I had a jacket. I was actually sweating. I was like, oh, this is going to be nice. As soon as my feet hit the water, I was not a happy man. I was not a brave man. I was not an any kind of man. I was very, very not the man anyway.
Well, in fairness now, like, your feet didn't even hit the water. When they got to the cool step.
And on that note, Lorcan, welcome to the Any Given Run Day podcast. What is going on? Why were you and Eric jumping into the freezing cold water on like a Monday morning?
Well, I kind of do it every morning. I've been doing it for the last couple of months.
Every morning?
Every single morning I do 10 minutes, yeah. 8 to 10 minutes. Not
like life? Like, are you used to it? Like, why?
Well, in fairness, the idea came about, there's a good friend of mine. He's actually in the special forces, but he's about, it's good strength, good willpower, set you up for the day. And I was like, nah, you're mad in the head. No, that's not for me. And eventually, over the course of a year, he coaxed me into it. And in December this year, I decided to take the plunge.
December. So the coldest month of the year, you went, plunge, let's go.
I was out the back one day. I have a barrel out the back, and it was frozen over with ice. And I goes, get the axe out now. I smashed that to bits and I get in. That's how it started. I'm not gonna lie. I actually tried to punch the ice in, and I ended up cutting my knuckles.
I need ice, my knuckles. Gee, Tom, you literally went like talk about just jumping into the deep end. That's literally what you did.
Yeah, well, in fairness, like I had been researching it. Like the fella who put me on the road, he doesn't do things for nothing. This man is your alpha male. Everyone's a plan. Everything is set for a reason. So if he was doing it, there's a reason to do it. Mm-hmm. So once I got the insight, then I done a bit of research. Andrew Huberman just started coming out with the speaks and the podcast and the little snippets here and there, and yeah, sold.
And to give some background to that, I was like, "How long do you have to do this in?" And he was like, "Well, the fellow who was getting me this, he said 10 minutes is the only standard." So to give you the background to the mentality involved here, there was no room for Lawless on the steps that we had residue of rain from the night before and crying about it. But yeah, I got in for I think 4 minutes. I got through one song anyway, but up to my hip. I had to sit in the bottom step. Couldn't put my hands in, Sean. I couldn't put my hands in. It was agony. But Lorcan does this every morning. Most mornings he'd come off the bike and we trained together. Actually, it was funny. Now, obviously, I don't know Lorcan for his ice bath abilities. I know him for his definite Ironman enthusiasm. But I started training. So obviously with the 75 type challenge, I was getting into it. I was being gentle on myself. I was doing the half-hour run. I was doing this. Went down to Athlone. It was the first shift since I started the challenge. So we're down for 4 days, 12-hour days. They're long days. And I was like, we'll see how we go. And I'll be relying on the yoga and stuff. And I was texting Lorcan. I was like, so will I bring me bike? He was like, yeah, absolutely. Loads of time to get training done before work. I was like, what? We started at 8:30. So I was like, that's not a lot of time. Mm-hmm. So he texts me, so he brings the bike and then we get down. He's like, right, tomorrow morning we'll just go out and do a 2-hour cycle. I was like, what? The longest cycle I'd done in the 75 days was the 30 minutes or maybe 35 minutes on Zwift. So there I am at 6 a.m. on the first day of the new cold snap. We're on the bike and I've just about got a jacket on. We're going out and he's like, have you not got gloves? I was like, Jesus, no. And I was like, we'll be all right. 500 meters later, I was like, oh no, big mistake. 45 kilometers later, I was nearly peeled off the bike. I had to cycle behind him. I had no energy. I was crying. I was everything.
I had 2 sets of gloves on and my hands were cold.
2 sets.
So on the way back, I literally, because and it is all about time in the saddle, and that's something Lorcan kept saying to me, is time in the saddle. But on the way back, I realized I had 0 time in the saddle. So in order for us to make it back in time for work, I had to cycle in his draft the entire way back, just so it was less effort and more speed.
Jeez. And then straight to the river after that?
Not this morning.
No,
he knew I was a broken man. He knew.
one step at a time. Fair play. There's a little bit of leniency there, look. I like that. So obviously,
I know, but in fairness, now on day one, I was like, so we'll go for a run after a nice handy one, and then I hit him with a 12,400 with a 2K warm up, 2K cool down.
Oh, that's cold. That's cruel. I saw you did your first interval session on the stories. You didn't say it wasn't by choice, though.
No, it wasn't my choice. It was like, we'll just take it nice and easy. And I was like, yeah, all right, 2K warm up, 12 by 400 intervals, and then a 2K home. Oh my God. By the third interval, I had to walk on the rest. He was jogging them. He's an absolute animal. And I was like, I'm just going to walk the rest, and then I'll turn when you're halfway through your last, and that should balance the books. And it did, in fairness. I wasn't too far behind them, but I had 4 days of hell. Like, I'm so glad I included walking and yoga in this challenge, because I done a walk this morning and I'll be doing yoga again tonight. I've been in bits since, but it has set me up for a good weekend. Definitely has set me up for a good weekend. But Lorcan, you have done a couple of Ironman.
Yeah, I've done about 12.
Who are we dealing with here?
Yeah.
What
I'm a glutton for punishment, as I say,
So
I have so many questions. I don't even want to start with this one.
Yeah, so I'm starting on my foot. In fairness, it was great because last week we had Anthony on who was saying, I'd love to do Lanzarote, and I was like, I know someone who's done Lanzarote. Lorcan, tell us about Lanzarote.
Yeah, the Lanzarote is a beast. So I've done Lanzarote 5 times, and I'm coming back to my 6th time now this year. It's a rough swim. It's a seriously hilly bike, but the hardest part of the whole thing is the wind. The wind in Lanzarote is cruel, like seriously cruel. Like. So I go back to 2019. I was blowing about 70 knots, and there's a wee 12K section between Teguise and Teguise. It's on that road. You're heading up towards the bottom of Rio for the big climb, and to get that 12 kilometers, it took me like 55 minutes.
For 12, oh my God.
And I actually had a good day that day. Like I was on the white line overtaking people like a motorbike going up the middle of the road, and I was doing about 13 kilometers an hour.
You would probably on a good day, judging what Eric says about you, you'd probably run that on a good day.
Oh yeah, oh, easily, yeah.
That's insane wind.
Oh, it was crazy. Like that year, I had my slowest time overall, and I had my highest finished place. So like I was at 170 something or whatever it was, but I was like 12 hours and 15 or 18 minutes or something. It was everyone was absolutely penalised by the wind that day. It was a tough day in the office.
And what part of that made you want to go back?
That's exactly why you want to go back. I am never going to break 9, or I'd probably break 10 at some stage. I'm never going to break 9. I'm never going to win an age group. I'm never going to get the Kona on an easy race course. So if I want to get the Kona, if I want to make the dream, for me, I need to go to a hard place where soft people go and just plug along.
So I was having this conversation with a friend the other day. Like I'd love to one day qualify for like the Boston Marathon, and it's for me because I just turned 35. It's 3:05. So in theory, if I went to a flat course, I like Berlin, for example, I have a better chance of getting that. Not that I'm anywhere near that right now. But like for you to get to Kona, do you have to go the harder course, and then are you preparing for an easier course to get there? Is that the long-term plan for you, or? Well,
for me, I'm not going to get there on an easy course because race weight for me is about 85 kilos.
Okay.
So someone who's 65 kilos in the same age category on a flat course.
Oh, it's not timed. It's more based on how many people are.
Top 1, 2, or 3 in your age category usually go.
Ah, okay. Sorry. I'm with you now. It's not just it's not a time taking cut off.
No.
So you think the hardest courses and hoping no one else does them, and then you've got a better chance getting the top 1, 2, or 3, just the perseverance.
Like that, like with 2019 being so hard, that turns people off. Lanzarote was really hard last year. So like there could be a bit of a softer feel there in 2020. And if I train hard, I'd be in the mix.
No, I'm back with you. There's probably a few people listening that were assuming my way led going, hang on a second, the hardest course for time. But obviously the 1, 2, 3, that changes everything. Yeah. But I'm with you now, the logic.
Yeah, like if we're talking about Frankfurt or Austria, like in my age category, 9 hours, 8:50 is what's winning the age category, is top 3, top 4.
Wow.
And if you go to Lanzarote, it's 10.5 hours that's winning my age category.
What got you started on Kona being the dream? Because you're doing this for a long time, and Ironmans are something that's only, well, I'm noticing is getting more popular in the last couple of years over here.
Yeah, so how I got into it, there's actually a friend of mine. So back in 2009, 2010, I was like 20 stone. I was really out of shape. Stopped playing football, stopped training. Well, I was lifting weights, but I was that fat fella that lifts weights. You know what I mean? I wasn't a ripped fella who's 20 stone. I was porky pies and beers and going to the gym bluffing, thinking, look at the size of the show, huge.
Weight lifts weight.
Oh, absolutely. And so then there's a friend of mine. He's after he was having loads of shoulder injuries, so he had to give up the Gaelic, and he started doing triathlons. And the local race here was like, I'll give an enemy wetsuit, I'll give an enemy bike. You're bound to have a pair of runners. And from there, it was a sprint distance race, and it's just
took it from there.
Yeah, just can I go faster? Can I go longer? Can I go longer and faster? And then next thing you know, you're doing Ironman.
Unbelievable. I'm assuming the first one was in Ireland then before you went traveling to Lanzarote 5 times.
Yeah, so my first sprint distance race was Blackrock Triathlon in Dundalk. And then my second race ever was a half Ironman up in Bangor. It's called the Ironman, IRE man. And I came third last. I was 7 hours getting around.
Oh, Jesus.
It was, oh, but it was brutal. And then my mate that I went with, it was the same fella that got me into it. He was like, every time, there was a 30k bike lift, he done 3 times. And he says, every time you can pass the porta potties, my bike was parked outside.
It was still the same loop. You hadn't come out from the first one.
I was at 30 kilometers, he was at 90.
Oh my God. Well, I'm glad to see since then you've still decided I'll just keep picking the harder routes, the harder races from there, didn't I tell you?
Oh, that's it, yeah. Listen, we all get something out of it, like, you know, like there's lads that are going to go fast. I enjoy the lifestyle that comes with it, like, so training, the good endorphins and all that stuff, so to get with it. Like, I enjoy being a triathlete, you know. So racing is just a cherry on top. Living the life of training and being healthy is that's.
You'd have to have that mindset to go up at 6 o'clock on a Monday morning, knowing you're in a half 8 to get yourself out there going cycling. Like, it's not for, you can't just have it's not that saying that like someone that loves to walk as opposed to someone that loves a destination will walk further to get there. Like, and that's definitely you from the sounds of things. I've only talked to you for the last 10-15 minutes, like, and that's already come across like it's class.
I'll give you another story. We were on one night now a couple of months ago, and we had a bad day on the air ambulance. It wasn't a good one. And we came back, and then it was a really terrible evening. And it was one of those days where I felt sorry for myself. I was going to go to the gym. I won't. And I was going to my car to head down to the room and get sorted. And I mean, it's raining cats and dogs. And who runs past me? Only Lorcan, with 14 kilo on his back, spitting and growling, doing a 5K to try and break the local 5K record with weight.
I'm sorry, just I was actually a 30 kilo pack, wasn't 14. It's one of the local challenges you have on the board. You go down and put on the backpack, and it's the fastest time. So it's 12 laps around the square in the barracks. It comes to 5K, so you put that pig on and you just absolutely hump it.
Jeez, the legs and lower backs with that in your back. My God.
But this is the mentality of what it is. And I come back to, we talk about the athlete lifestyle, and you mightn't be winning races, but you're still, as you said, living the athlete lifestyle. We had a horrible day. And I came back feeling sorry for myself. And there he was, 3.5K in, growling and spluttering. I was just like, I'm going to the gym. Like, you can't walk past that and go, what am I doing? Yeah. You know, like, it's absolutely unbelievable. But that is a mentality, Lorcan, that you've built over 12, 13 years now, nearly 15 years.
Yeah. But I see, like, the other morning when I come in off the middle bike ride, the one that someone never got up for,
I stayed in bed.
I'm loving you even more, Lorcan. You're calling out the shit. That Miss Psycho wasn't up on the Instagram stories this week, was it?
in bed.
So I was out for that, and it was actually a lot windier than the day before. So on the way back, I was humping it. Like it was an hour of effort on the way back, and I had a packet of biscuits in my pocket. And I was getting changed for the shower, and just mysteriously somehow managed to eat the whole packet of biscuits before I even got into the shower. 8 o'clock in the morning, like 12 digestives down my neck. Like, what am I at?
Jesus.
But that's what we're saying. The lifestyle it brings is fantastic. It's absolutely brilliant. But what was great for me, Sean, and why I think Lorcan's going to be a great fit to the podcast, the time he gave me over the couple of days was amazing. And I had the attitude that I hate when other people have it with me. I'm not going running with you, you're too quick.
Yeah.
But obviously he has Lanzarote, he's trying to get last ditch bit of training in. But when he's cycling slow, he's cycling slower than his slow with me cycling with me. But the nuggets and the tips and the calmness in the pool when he was showing me little things to run and giving me the insights into, if you do this for 10 days, so after I could barely breathe after the intervals, he's like, if you do this again in 10 days, he was already telling me the next time I should beat myself. Like it was great. But Lorcan, I am about to take on my first Ironman. This is round 1. We are both going to Portugal for a holiday of some sort. What is needed? What's the essential? Obviously, I'm 6 months to go. What for people listening is the essentials for me for now to progress to get to that level?
So number one, what I say is like, this is a positive attitude. From the get-go, you need to believe in what it is that you want to do. I know you're talking, you're setting numbers, and I want to do X amount of time, or 12 hours, or 13 hours, or whatever it is. Forget all that first. What you want to do is you want to have a good day in the office, first and foremost. So get your swimming to a level that you can comfortably swim 4K and get a couple of thumps in the head and dunked and a few splishes and splashes. And
that's the bit people don't really train for.
Like the physical contact in open water when you're a couple of 100 meters from the shore, that would tighten your arse all right.
And I'm not the most confident. I've said it here on the podcast. I'm not the most confident with it.
Yeah, and then so that's the swim. So the swim is make sure you can swim 4K, make sure you're comfortable physical contact in the water. So practice that as much as you can. On the bike, be patient. So patience is key. You're 120K in, you're 5 hours, your legs are sore, and you want to just give it a bit more. Settle back, whatever you've trained to. So early on in your training, you're going to have an FTP or a functional threshold heart rate. Make sure you stick to your numbers, stick to the game plan, because the pace you Ironman at isn't hard. It's the length of time that you're at that effort that's hard. So believe me, multiple times I have gone, I've loads in the tank. And instead of 10K to go on the run, I'm suffering for a half marathon, or I'm suffering for 28 kilometers when it should be only the last 10 or 12 kilometers that you're really in pain town. Like, because trust the process. The pain comes. That Ironman shuffle, that uncomfortableness, your stomach's at you, you can't take on any more fluids, or you can't eat that, and that will come in time. Just give it time. Don't be in a rush to get there.
And that's it. And like, there's a lot that I've been working on. When we went to the pool, obviously you're seeing me to just trying to give me stuff to streamline, and that's the aim of the game, isn't it? It's not perfection. It's just about every time progressing to just be that little bit better or a little bit more streamlined.
Yeah, absolutely. Like, strive for excellence. Strive for perfection, but settle for excellence. That's the code, isn't it? So
it sounded good.
Yeah. So aim as high as you can, and if you fall short, you're still gonna be in a good spot. So with swimming, because swimming is nugget based. It's very, did you try this at your hips, and did you try tensing your lower back, and on your catch, did you try cocking your wrist? And because swimming is I'd say 70% tactical, 30% fitness. So you need to know what you're at in the water, how to position your body properly, how to stay streamlined, how to stay high in the water, keep your feet up, keep balanced. And then the fitness is just like the small part, because you're thinking of a million and one different things. The last thing you want to be doing is like not be fit enough to be able to think about them things. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that's it exactly, and that's one thing I noticed. We were doing lengths. Yeah, so again, I'd been in the pool here in Clane, and I'd done a length here and a length there, and 2 lengths, maybe 4 if I was wild. We get into the pool. He's right, 5 sets, 200 meters. Boom, 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 boom. This is what we're doing.
It's the benefit of having a coach.
I was in the lane beside him, and he'd be back like a full length ahead of me anyway, maybe even 2, and I'd be coming back and he's like, yeah, really good, now we're just going to do this and this and try and do this, and I'd be like that is the point. It was only actually towards the end of the session when I started to actually think of the little tips he was saying about leaving that tip of just tensing my lower back was absolutely amazing. To just, I could feel the bum hitting the surface where I hadn't been able to feel that. I was always kind of hips low, so I actually just slowed everything down. And that was another thing, Lorcan, it's not always about going quick, is it?
Oh, absolutely not. Like, especially with long distance, like it's 80-20 if you want to put it like that. But even them 20s, your warm up and your cool down are easy. So even like, so like it's probably more like 90-10. So the hard stuff is hard, but the easy stuff, and there's lots of it, is easy. So you should be able to think, I'm running easy enough that I can think about my gait, I can think about my hips, I can think about my lower back, I can think about my shoulder, posture, arms. Your long, easy runs, that's what you should be thinking about. So when you're putting a bit of effort in, it comes naturally, and your rhythm and everything is efficient. And in the pool, like, you should spend a lot of time swimming slow, because that's where you learn how to catch the water, pull the water, have body position, feel, and then as you get closer to the race, 8 weeks out, you start adding in that race intensity, picking it up. I want to do a 105, right? I need to swim 145 per kilometer, up out 100 meters, so nice and slow. And then as you get towards the race specificity, get into them zones on the bike, on the run, on the swim, and 8 weeks out is a good spot to go. That's what I find in it. And don't get me wrong, I am no shining light. I am not super quick, but I've done it a while, so I have a bit of experience in the bag.
And that's kind of like us with the running. We're not experts, but we've been there. We've done the mistakes. We've made every mistake you can possibly make in any of the marathons. And it's not a case of we are supreme coaches. We are like, do not make the same mistake we have done. And as far as coaching goes, that's pretty good advice. Like,
absolutely, yeah.
Looking back over your 11 Ironmans you've done so far, Lorcan, is there one of them that stands out that went, that's where I made the big mistake? Like, me and Eric have talked many times on the podcast about different runs and stuff we done, we messed up big time that one. It's not going to be fun talking about this in the podcast, but where you will probably learn the most through that failure. Is there one there that stands out for you, or with someone doing one where it stands out, you're like, this and for this reason? I
have made every mistake in the book, like multiple times. Like, I'm not talking about once. I am the king of mistakes. Like, so Ironman Mallorca in 2014, I think it was, or 2015, one of them days, I thought I could go around a U-bend, a hairpin bend on the tri-bars, like a hero coming down the hill. I took 2 lads out. Bike went from under me. I took 2 lads. I mean, I nearly put us off the side of a cliff. Like, there was ambulance called for this. This was like, yeah, that's probably the biggest mistake that I'd ever made on a bike.
Did that end your race?
It ended their race, didn't mine.
Probably shouldn't be laughing at that, but
I had a bit of road rash and I was busting up a wee bit, but my bike was still working. The 2 lads had mechanicals, but I just got off and rode off into the sunset. Like, I was going, that was terrible, wasn't it? Here we go. Yeah.
I see what you mean now. Always have a positive attitude, and you're still in it.
Adios, amigos. I hope them 2 are in my age category.
Here we come.
Well, that's another way of qualifying anyway.
Oh, absolutely. But I think that's the biggest mistake I made. But even now, like, plenty of races in, half Ironman, full Ironmans, like nutrition. It is like the unicorn to get it right.
Is that not eating enough? Is that having too much too early, or just not having enough on you? Or
it's everywhere. It's conditions. Like, on the bike, you have in your mind, I'm going to do a 6.5 hour Ironman here, and it's really windy. And next you know, you're 7 hours and 15 minutes on the bike, and you haven't got that 45 minutes worth of nutrition. what do you do? Like,
Right.
you know, or else you finish in too early. Like, I'm going to do a 6 hour bike, you say, and you come in at 5:50, and you have that little bit, and you say, oh, sure, I'll make it. I meant to drink this in the bike, or let's have it anyway. And then that leads to too many toilet stops and GI issues, and you know, so like, and then heat, humidity, wind. Like, getting the nutrition right is so they call it the fourth discipline for a reason. Like, it is. You'll see so many people, good athletes, walking because they got their nutrition wrong. It's not because they're not super fit. It's because they're too much or they're too little. Or they didn't get the mix.
What would be your rule of thumb now on like, let's say 6 hours of bike, whatever it is? Do you have a certain amount of carbs per time, or a certain amount of food per time, or what way would you work that now?
I'll try and have 80 grams of carbohydrates an hour.
80 now.
80, and that's I can eat, I can drink, I can take gels. Like, I've been in the army for the last 18 years. I've an iron gut.
So it's just as long as 80 grams, it's grand.
Yeah. 2 cows food, that thing's like a bin down there.
But it is, and it's one thing that it's important to practice as well with any of the training, even having the water with you at the pool, so you're taking in fluids as you would normally after the swim. Then you're on the bike, you know, when you're practicing, even if you're on Zwift or you're only doing 45 minutes, is always just have that bottle there and keep sipping away as the extra discipline. Yeah,
I'd say, but if you're only doing an hour on Zwift, that's not a fuel ride. That's a bottle of water.
Yeah, but
don't be taking carbohydrates off it. Yeah.
Still getting used to the feeling of, where's my bottle? You know, 10 minutes has gone by. Should I have a little sip?
Even a good tip: a hot bowl of porridge before your long run, and that thing's sitting sloshing around your stomach. That will give you a feeling of what it's like in an Ironman when you have a load of stuff just in your guts hanging around when you're just heading out the door. Like,
yeah, not a nice feeling to be heading off to 42.2k with that kind of in the belly. Because how long does it take in a transition? And this is one element I'm kind of like, obviously it's an Ironman, everything is about time. You know, you're taking it easy enough so you last. But then when you're in transition, is it all rush? Do you take a minute? Do you relax a minute? Do you take on extra change? What is it to expect out of a transition?
I suppose it depends. It depends on your goal. Like for me, I'm running like transition in an Ironman is the same as transition in a sprint. I'm getting my helmet off, I'm getting me runners on, so out of the swim, get rid of that wetsuit, get what I need into my pockets, get onto my bike and get out as quick as I can. You know, like don't get me. It matters more in a sprint, but you want to do the best you can. And transition, just because you can lollygag and sit around, there's no need to. At the end goal is to get back across that finish line as quick as you can. So don't spend an extra 10 minutes in position for no reason.
Yeah, you just, as long as you're well organized and briefed, you can get it done.
Like, think about it. Like this Ironman in 6 months, you're going to be thinking about every little nook and cranny, every small detail. You'll be dreaming about it. So that transition bag, when you dump it on the ground and everything falls out, you know what everything's for.
Yeah.
So it's like, don't hang around and say, oh yeah, can I get a bit of extra sun cream over there off the volunteers? If you want sun cream, have sun cream in your bag.
Yeah. and obviously the perk that you're eating the stuff as you go around, so you're getting lighter as you go.
Lorcan, have you done Portugal before?
No, I haven't.
So this is the first for you in terms of the route and everything else.
Portugal's only on the scene 3 years. I think it's the third year of it, or maybe fourth year. So
and this is more a question for myself than anything else. You said at the start of the podcast you like pick hard races. So is Portugal a hard race?
It's challenging enough, yeah. It's not
Excellent.
Up there.
Excellent. Talk more, Lorcan, because I'm after hearing how Cork has no hills. I'm disappointed with that. But if Portugal's really hard, I'm loving it.
And you know what? I've just described the animal I'm training with. So for him to say, yeah, it's all right. No, it's hard.
It's hard.
Yeah, well, there's 1,400 meters on the bike of elevation. It's rolling. You go up around the Formula 1 circuit. So it's nice that way. Yeah. So you get to come and do 2 laps around the Formula 1 on each lap. And then the run is rolling with a wee 200 meter sharp hill just as you come into town, up cobbles. That's meant to be a wee kick out, and you have to do that 5 times. So,
up cobbles?
Oh
my God.
There's completely
cobbled
everywhere.
It's a wee cobble street, yeah, when you're in Casquias, just in the town there itself, like, yeah.
Jeez, I saw it was one of those Netflix documentaries on recently, and they had one of the races in France where it's just the whole thing is cobbles. And Eric, after hearing this, you should definitely watch it because it's not
Flanders.
like, yeah, it's not if you fall, it's like when they go, and one goes and they all go. It was probably like Lorcan a couple of years ago, they're not Ironman where they just knocked two out. But you see, I forget what it's called now. I'll put it in the show notes because it'll come back to me. Anyway, but it's just an insane race, and it's just all these just women flying across thing, and it's just a narrow cobbles. But I can't believe you got like on the bike prepared for cobbles in an Ironman.
No, that's in the run. Sorry.
Oh, that's in the run. No, I'm disappointed now. I thought you meant the bike. I was like, my God, like this is for like people will fall.
4K. You've cycled 180, and then on your first lap, you're meeting a climb on cobbles. It's guaranteed danger anyway. You can barely shuffle. Imagine trying to shuffle on cobbles.
Stick you on the bike.
I only booked this with Lorcan's recommendation. Now he's telling me all these fucking things about it.
Yeah, sure. Hardly up, I suppose.
That's it. No point having it easy.
But we did one better as well. 6 weeks out, lost sheep. So, and your kind of rule of thumb, Lorcan, on what you said, that 8 to 6 weeks, a hard half, and you'll know where you are.
A good training week, so you train into the half. So Monday to Friday, you're training like normal. Hit a hard Saturday, recover from it, and then you'll know it's that lead in. Then it's a perfect time to have a really big week of training to get tapered perfectly for your race. Then 6 weeks out, so 6 weeks is a great week to have a mad week or a big volume week, high intensity, for a good fitness to come off it in about 6 weeks after. Yes, the Lost Sheep is in a perfect spot.
So the Lost Sheep in Kenmare is a half Ironman distance. It's a 1,200 meters of climbing in the bike.
1,200 meters of climbing on the bike, yeah.
Okay, so
in half the distance of the Ironman that we're going to do with 200 meters less, if that makes sense. So you're getting a taste of the climbing ability you've built up. The run itself has a couple of hills.
The run is very hilly. About 300 meters of elevation. It's at about 17k to the hill, and it's about a kilometer long. And I know when I get to a hill, if I can run it, I'm in good shape. And if I have to walk it, you know.
It's one of those days.
Yeah. Like I was on that hill last year, and first and second lady. Like I thought I was running fast. Two of them can pass me, like dog legging past each other, like they were racing. And I seen them just going up off in the distance, like, yeah, I might be fit, but I'm not that fit.
At least you had a goal.
so that week is going to be, as we said, a busy training week, because you're going to keep the volume, you're going to keep everything up, you're going to try and mimic fatigue by the time you get to that race. And that's the idea, really, isn't it? Is to be training heavy and hard and then race. So Friday evening is your transit day down there. So fair enough, probably not doing much, but you may even go for a light trot that evening.
Yeah, I normally run down to the pier. So from Kenmare out to the pier, it's about a kilometre and a half. So it's a nice wee 3k shakeout from just down out round. Have a look away going to race in the morning, suss out where the transition is going to be, visualise coming out of transition, coming back in on the bike. Just get your ducks in a row that sort of way. Because I've done it 3 or 4 years now, and they've had different layouts on it. So last year they had the transition areas up in a field way up the back. So when I went down the night before, I was like, "Where's all the bike racks, lads?" And they're like, "Oh yeah, that's down the field." I was like, "Oh yeah." If I had to come down and race morning, you sort of be put out a wee bit, like, you know. So I always find it nice to go down to the venue, try and get a feel for what's going on the day or the morning of the race, like, you know.
Yeah, it's one of the things as well. It's that settling of the nerves, or as Sean likes to call it, it's not nerves, it's excitement.
Yeah,
but it's that element of just settling it down a little bit, visualizing what's about to happen, and then for me, a case of the water. Until I get out of that water, I think the nerves won't settle, and then it's just a case of enjoy yourself afterwards as best you can. But it is a long journey. It's one thing I've realized, you know, like. The commitment for an Ironman, never mind 12 of them, the commitment to do one of them it's a lot of training time. It's a lot of commitment.
Yeah. So that's Iron Widows is what our girls and wives are called.
It's absolutely, yeah, no, I even, and this was kind of the reason behind the 75-day challenge, was to get used to training that twice a day, get used to getting out of bed. Now, one of the days I completely didn't get out of bed with him at all, but it's trying to develop that habit and trying to get used to it. But it's absolutely amazing. It's great to train with someone. And this is another thing we spoke about really, Lorcan, wasn't it? It's the power of training with people.
Oh, absolutely. Like, as I said to you, I think it was the first time in 3 or 4 months that I've trained with anyone, and it's just having that camaraderie, someone beside you to sort of shoot the yarn or whatever's going on. If you're suffering a wee bit, sort of just I'll hold it together here just to let him know that I'm not suffering. You know, yeah, I know I'm going, yeah. Really inside and dying.
and for me to be training with someone up 3 levels, never mind up a level, up 3 levels, and just to hold on to their coattails, the development is phenomenal.
You're making me just some sort of hero. Just for all the rest of there, lads.
12 Ironmans. Your resume speaks for itself.
But it's one thing I even found over those couple of days, when you're with someone who has that together, has that ability to get up at 6 and get on that bike. All you have to do is make that contract, and that's what I said at the start of my little challenge. Make that contract with someone. All right, I'll see you here for the cycle at 6. Then when the alarm goes off, you're like, oh, they're going to be waiting on me. I have to get up. I have to go. You get on the bike, you get into it, you enjoy it. You start suffering, they're still motoring. You're like, just hang on. And the body remembers it. And it's one thing we spoke about was, find out if you are taking on things. And it's one thing I'll look into as we come into the summer is find your local cycling club. And it's one thing Lorcan said, on the Sunday, you're not getting out of bed for anybody, but the cycling club is doing the 90K, so you go and do it.
Yeah, absolutely. And as well, like, make it public. Make that commitment. Yeah, so say I'm going to do it, make it public, and then you have to follow through. Or else everyone knows that you're weak.
You are right, though, because like if you make a commitment for something as long as training for an Ironman or a marathon or whatever it is, like you know, in those 12 weeks lead up to or 16, whatever it is, during those times, people are going to ask you, hey, how's your training going? Because it's not something you make that commitment where you're going to do tomorrow. Like, there's a big lead into it, and you're going to get those questions. How's the training going? Are you prepared? Or what have you been doing? All the rest. And if your answer is nothing, you're going to feel like a piece of crap, and you're going to, that in itself is going to keep pushing to get out there.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. And this, we're talking about here all the training we done. You didn't tell me about the pizza and beers that we weren't having the other night as well, were you?
Oh, is that straight true, Eric?
I don't know, like I'm joking there. Like I was saying to him, like when we were chatting about training, I was like, so we just tell everyone we train, and we just really go for pizza and beer. Like, we forget about the training. We just tell everyone be great lads.
But it is, it's a lifestyle. It's one thing I realized, and getting to train with Lorcan was fantastic because I didn't have to do the thinking, I just had to survive. But it is a lifestyle. You have to think of yourself. If you're going for a marathon, if you're going even a sprint triathlon, you don't just have to be, you can't just be a good runner and do the triathlon. You have to train at 3 disciplines. So treat yourself like an athlete. And that's one thing we talked about as well is, you can have even the training, but the fourth element, the food, like you can't be an athlete and be drinking the beer and pizzas as well. So you have to be honest with yourself of what you're going to achieve and what you want to achieve and the plans you put in place. So it's I think it was kind of great to hear, because we talked about it, Sean, for so long, is like, am I a runner?
Yeah.
Like, we are. Like, if you're training for a marathon, you're training for 3.5 hour marathon, you are a runner. Okay, you might not win the race, but like, what are you going to do to prepare for it? How are you going to make yourself feel about it? And if you treat yourself like an athlete, then all of a sudden the night out doesn't seem so appealing. I'm an athlete. I am not going out. Even
with that, when you're talking about getting into a group, like if the triathlon club are going out on the Saturday morning for the Saturday morning swim and the Sunday morning bike, you're not going to have the pizza and beer on a Friday night or a Saturday night if you're committed to getting up the next morning. Like there's no way you're going to go out for a couple of beers and 2 o'clock in the morning and get up at 7 to go swimming with the lads and get absolutely roasted.
I've done it once or twice and I've lived to regret it.
Not in 10 years have I done that. In my youth, pal. In my youth.
But yeah, and is there any other little snippets? I know for me, I own this watch since 2019 and I have learned how to create a workout on the watch and not using the laptop for the first time the other day. Have you any other snippets, or do you want to tell people? Did you know how to do this?
Yeah, see, but that's the hardest part, is getting the runners on and getting your feet out the door. So, but with a little bit of walking background, that gadget you have on your wrist is an absolute huge motivation tool. So spend 10 minutes before you go out, load in what you want to do, press start, and all you have to do is follow the instructions that flash up on your screen. It is, and it's a dream. It takes away all the thinking. You have it programmed, whatever it's meant to be, like 12 400s, 2K warm, 2K kill, and so the watch told me to do everything. I hit go. That's all I have to do. Start and then gone out the door.
Do you have a Garmin yourself, Lorcan, or do you have preference of smartwatches, Garmin?
No, I'm a Garmin man. Yeah. Sorry.
Type of Garmin, or does it matter at this stage? Or
well, I do Fenix. Like I do hill walk and I do a bit of other stuff as well as triathlon. Like, so I need a good robust watch. So the Fenix is, I've had a Fenix on my wrist for probably 7 or 8 years now. So that's my favorite. I have a Garmin bike computer. I have Garmin power pedals. Like I'm a Garmin.
You're a Garmin
if Garmin
man.
are listening, they'll really know through the sponsorship there. You know. Help your brother out.
And here's just genuinely for my own knowledge. So obviously, with all the training, the summers are getting better. 6 hours on Zwift doesn't sound too appealing. So, but I would like to be out and training with pedals and with a computer. So I know about power. And Sean, that's the aim in a game in all these races: power, watts per kilo, based off your FTP, the power that you can hold over a sustained period of time, and then take a percentage of that, and that's your race pace. So how do I get myself set up with this, Lorcan? What is it going to, possibly cost me ballpark, and how do I use it? How do I, because when I bought this watch, Sean was like, what are you doing? Why are you buying that? It's so expensive. But it's been the best investment in me that I still stand over. But how do I make the right choices with pedals, with bike computers, and how do I use them?
Well, to be honest, like a set of power pedals or a power meter or whatever is as valuable to everyone. I suppose it's as in the cheapest one is going to be accountable to itself, where the €2,000 Garmin is going to be accountable to itself. They're all going to have their discrepancies, but as long as everything's going to be repeatable on the same device, if you know what I mean. Yeah. So the power pedals, the Asimo power pedals that are good and cheap, or the Stages power meter, it mightn't have the 1% variability that the Garmin will have. It might be at 3%, but 3%, if you're repeating on the same set of pedals, it's taking that 1 to 3% out of it, because it's a repeatable test on the same set of pedals, like, you know.
Yeah.
So then you're talking about how do you get your power numbers or your heart rate numbers. So a functional heart rate test, so 10-minute warm up, and then 30 minutes comfortably uncomfortable, where the last 5 minutes are really hard, but you haven't put in any extra effort. And then the last 20 minutes of that is your functional threshold heart rate. And then the bike test is warm up, get yourself ready in 20 minutes, go for it, multiply it by 0.9, and then that's your FTP.
Yeah, it's something I really do have to look into, and it's kind of daunting as well. And everyone's like, "Oh, this is an expensive sport." But for me, I bought the bike 4 years ago. I bought the watch 4 years ago. I still have the same wetsuit because I bought the little bit more expensive equipment, and it has lasted. And that's one thing people kind of fall into the trap with. They're buying the cheap, buying the twice as well. But you don't always have to buy expensive as well. But as you said, it's the numbers. We don't always train by numbers. So I mean, you've always said sometimes switch the watch off, just go for a run, and there's power. There is great like mental power to that as well. But when you're going for these long distances, when you start to get tired, trying to think of the next drill when you're out on the road for 6 hours is going to be a nightmare. Am I going to have, like, I'll be on the watch might ding at me to say you should go faster. But as I'm 80k into a cycle halfway to trim or wherever I'm going, am I really going to do it? But if the power pedals, it's all set up onto the computer, it's all about holding different times and different things, the likelihood is I'm going to get really focused training. And that's why I'm looking at the investment. Would you agree, Lorcan? It's worth it for that element?
Absolutely. So like, you're talking about a wee Garmin computer that's on the front of your handlebars, and you can have the screen set up that'll show you the wee blocks. So a 5-minute block and a 3-minute block easy, or whatever your workout's going to be. And that is just a carrot. You know, oh, I'm coming up to this next block, and it mentally prepares you to put the work in, because you know the downside of the block is the rest. So you know that I'm going to do 10 3-minute repeats, and that's part of this workout. And it's just easy to, if you can visually see it in front of you, it's easier to get over, and it's easier to implement in your training, instead of you going down the road going, oh, I do 3 minutes 10 times, and was it 8 times or was it 10 times? If it's black and white in front of you and it's telling you what to do, that is where that's where they give it back, and like, as in money spent, that's where it's spent. It's spent on that information.
And having that information on the day, I think you are allowed these pedals in the day of an Ironman, aren't you?
Oh, absolutely, yeah, absolutely.
So the idea for me, Sean, and the reason we're talking about it, and we discussed that at length when we were on together, is I know where I can be in a training with the same, as we talked about, the 3% pedals or the 1% pedals, they're still the same pedals. So that race day, I will know what power I should be holding at certain points. And that's where you can rein in the horses, in terms of, you'll know with the excitement, you're up at 220, you should be at 190. Oh, maybe bring it back a little bit here. Don't get ahead of yourself. It's 180 kilometers, and it adds in that confidence, that mental confidence to see the same numbers you've looked at for 6 months, and then you're halfway through the cycle still feeling comfortable, heart rate looks normal. You know, it's kind of like an engine test. You know, you're just looking in at the engine, see if it's exploded or not, and then now we're still where we think we should be, and keep going. So it's my next investment, Sean.
Do you use your technology as a guideline how your sessions went, or during your sessions, if your technology is like, hey, you've enough you need to push on, or suggested workouts, or your body batteries high up, or all these different variables that Garmin do provide, do they have any influence in your training plans, or are you just looking at the numbers after the training plans?
Well, for me, the body batch and all that, I don't really pay much attention to.
No, the power. Let's say you're going for an easy cycle somewhat, and the Garmin's like, here, you could push on a little bit further. You go, no, this is my easy cycle day, I've got this next day, or is it like, now it's time to push on?
100%. An easy day is easy on the body. So if it feels easy, it's easy. You know, it's not about the Garmin saying do 20 watts extra or go 20 watts harder.
Gotcha.
No, that's easy is your perception of easy. You know, like this could be, you're into a 5-day cycle, and 4 days into a 5-day block, and your body's tired, and you're like, yeah, I'm just gonna, instead of holding 120 watts, I'm gonna hold 100 watts. I'm gonna take it real super easy. You know,
and analyze the numbers afterwards daily.
Yeah,
and I think where you need the coach is on that 10% hard. You need that person when you're breathing heavy to be like, you're going again. And that's where it gets its value. And then the metrics are nicer on the easy, because you can see the metrics, they can kind of balance with what's relatively easy. And if you're not feeling it, it's easy to go, all right, we'll take it back a little step or two. You know, it's definitely on the harder ones, the intervals, the pace holding, the thresholding, you know, where you're pushing and you lose that thought capacity. You lose that ability to go, is that the 6th or the 7th rep? Oh, let's just stop. You know, like that's the bit that I find, even with the watch, with the running, and I can only imagine what it will do on the bike, because I'm going to be cycling in and out to work. Once the kids get off school, it's the safest time just to put those miles into legs, get the hours up. Is the best way I can think of, including the training. But if I don't set myself up with something in those cycles, one of them can be easy, the other one can be a little bit of a climb or a little bit of a push, I'm not really going to develop. Time in the saddle is really important, but just even to break up the 30-40 minutes with an interval every 4 minutes, just to go a little bit harder, I'll just mentally not have to think about it and just go, you know. And sometimes that 4 minutes will hit at the base of a hill and you're like, oh no.
It must be broke.
Reset. But it's absolutely amazing. But we'll probably see a lot more of myself and Lorcan. We're on for another 4. So if you've only just tuned into what's been going on and keep an eye on the Instagram, there is another 4 days. We'll probably do a little bit of training together, starting on Easter Monday. So I've learned a lot in 4 days, and that's one of the other things. Do try and find your local clubs, get out there and see who's around you, because I've always said it as well with people who are running and people who are involved in triathlon. Lorcan, you might agree with me. It's always positive people. It's always people willing to show you the ropes or chat to you and just welcome you into it and just get you out there.
There's a great community. The triathlon community is so kind to other people. Like they'll take you in, and in the pool, like they'll give you the tips, they'll give you the drills on the running. They'll tell you when the running sessions are on. They'll give you tips on the good runners to buy, the cheap websites to get your discounts on. And yeah, so like my local club is Tatanta in Dundalk, and I think we've 100 and 120 members. But like every single one of them is a friend, like, you know, and that's only through shared experience, like, you know. So anyone that's listening, like, reach out to your local club, whether it's a running club or triathlon club or swimming club, and meet the people, get in, and you realize that it makes it easier when you're going to the pool, when you're on the pool deck, when there's 3 or 4 lads there and you're having a bit of a laugh and a banter before the work starts, when you get into the water, or when you're giving each other digs at the end of it when Erica dropped in the last 200. So
it is, and it's fantastic to have people who've been through, like yourself, Lorcan. You meet people like you when you get involved in these places. You meet people who have made the mistakes, and obviously listening to the podcast, we try and give some insight, but that's where you meet the people who can pull you back on the bike and say, easy tiger, long way to go, you know, those kind of little snippets. And it is, and hopefully people are listening. You don't have to be fit to join either, and it's one of the things I've always carried, like, I'm not fit enough, I'm not going down there yet, I'll only embarrass myself. But there's always the beginners group, there's always usually segregation and in the groups and levels and abilities, so you'll always find your level, which is one of the great things about it as well. But and when you do the race, you'll find your own level in the race no matter what you do anyway. So. Lorcan will have the slippers on and the hot chocolate in hand by the time I finish in Portugal in 6 months' time.
The packet of biscuits in the pocket will be well and truly gone, though.
Absolutely.
We could go on for another hour or two, but I'm going to keep them little snippets so we can get advantages over other people. But we're on for the next 4 days. But yeah, we will wrap it up, Lorcan. We'll probably check back in a couple of times in our little Ironman journey.
Perfect, yeah.
You can dish the dirt on how average I've been, and but yeah, it's been good. Keep an eye on the Instagram for some of the crazies. I might even get in below my hip into the Shannon this time round. We'll see how it goes.
Might get a belly button in.
Yeah.
Last thing on that, Lorcan, actually, because we'll finish full circle on that. You said you've done that since December, so we're looking at what 4 months. Geez,
4
April
months,
now.
yeah.
4 months now. Is it the willpower to keep going in every day and beating that battle to do it that you found the biggest benefit, or other benefits you found of doing that every day? Do you feel better? Do you feel recovery's quicker with it? Like, what's keeping you going, keeping this habit going?
Yeah, for me, it's the mental clarity and the good feeling after. Like, when you put yourself through that little bit of discomfort first thing in the morning, it sets you up for a good day.
Misery in the morning, it can only get better.
You're out of bed 15 minutes and you're after being in cold water for 10 minutes. Your day is just brightness after that.
I suppose hard start, easy day, and the easy start, if you take the lie in, and you have a hard day after that if you keep hitting that snooze button.
Absolutely. The hardest part of the day is getting your feet in the floor.
Mm-hmm. Totally agree with that.
And it's and one thing that we mentioned the last day is your body feels alive, your brain wakes up, the body is working, it's in shock all the time. Now you do get used to it, and Lorcan's very used to it, but you feel very much alive after it. Very, very much. It doesn't matter how tired you were feeling beforehand, you will not be tired afterwards. And
there, for people that are new to it, like, that cold shock, it activates your sympathetic nervous system. I don't know, we're going to be technical here, but if you haven't had that activated in a while by making yourself uncomfortable, it's a serious buzz off it. Like, there's a serious hit of adrenaline and endorphins that come after that cold water exposure. when you're standing at the side of the barrel or the side of the stand, then you're jumping jacks trying to warm back up, you feel alive like.
Yeah. We're gonna have to dive more into this one. Literally dive more into this one. But we'll see how I get on. I might even bring water shoes or something, slippers, a jacket the next time I'm getting in. But
smoker's jacket.
But we'll keep it, Lorcan. Thanks so much for coming on. It's been great. We know there's so many more stories in there, and your modesty is killing this podcast. So we're gonna work on you over the next couple of weeks. We'll check back in with each other, and hopefully by the end, Sean, we'll have two of us on after we've completed an Ironman and we're on the beer and eating pizza.
We won't be doing the podcast while you're on the beer. That'd be a whole different kind of episode. We won't get into. But Lorcan, thank you very much for being on this week's episode of the 80 Night podcast. It'd be great to have you in the near future as well. Eric, keep that 7-day, 5-day challenge going. And me, that's it. That's it for the three of us. Take care.
Bye.
Bye.